In 1805, Napoleon defeated the Austrians and Russians at Austerlitz. Austria lost some German lands bordering France and was forced to withdraw from the Russian alliance. The following year, Napoleon crushed the Prussian army at Jena and marched into Berlin, again gaining more territory. As Napoleon moved westward, he forced the same revolutionary legal and secular codes throughout Europe. The monarchs and nobility that had been in power were losing their status, and the peasants were obtaining a thirst for power. Napoleon was bringing liberalism to Europe. While Napoleon could have benefited from these social revolutions, he heavily taxed the people to pay for his army. Many peasants were forced to serve in the French army, which caused resentment. Only Britain stood opposed to Napoleon's rule. In 1805, Admiral Nelson defeated the French fleet at the Battle of Trafalgar. Nelson died during the battle, but his new tactic of crossing the T revolutionized naval history. Trafalgar is in the southwest corner of the map. It's off the coast of Spain, just outside of the Mediterranean Sea. Rather than attacking side by side, Nelson, in the red, crossed through the French line, and he could attack on two different areas. Thus, the French fleet was divided. This was a brand new military tactic for the Navy. Nelson died during the battle, but his new tactic of crossing the T revolutionized naval history. Unable to invade Britain, Napoleon tried to hurt the British economy by instituting a ban on all British goods. This helped French manufacturing, but the British could still trade with its colonies, plus smuggling persisted. The Spanish monarch was not a faithful ally of France, so Napoleon invaded Spain and installed his brother Joseph on the throne in 1808. Again, Napoleon attempted to bring secularism into this devout Catholic country. The clergy and the monarchist class inspired the people to resist, and a guerrilla war began. The British sensed an opening to weaken Napoleon and landed a force under Sir Arthur Wellesley, later known as the Duke of Wellington. The British and the Spanish finally led to the overthrow of Joseph in the year 1813. While a large French force was bogged down in Spain, Napoleon attempted an invasion of Russia in 1812. Napoleon sent over 600,000 troops against Russia. However, he could not defeat the Russian army. The Russians had a large empire and retreated to the interior of the country. Napoleon did occupy Moscow in September, but Tsar Alexander I ordered the citizens to evacuate, and the army burned the city. Napoleon's soldiers were far from their supplies and feared the harsh Russian winter would destroy their army. In October of 1812, Napoleon ordered his troops to retreat, and the Russians counterattacked. Hitler would have the similar results in 1941. Napoleon retreated to East Prussia, and the Prussians and Austrians also attacked. By late 1813, the Spanish and British crossed the Pyrenees Mountains and threatened from the south. The other allies crossed the Rhine River and invaded France from the east. In the spring of 1814, Paris is captured and Napoleon abdicates, exiled to Elba. Louis XVIII, the brother of the executed Louis XVI, is restored to the throne. However, Napoleon was not finished. Some anti-monarchists supported him, and he landed on the southern coast of France. His force marched to Paris, and Louis's army decided to stand by Napoleon. He again raises an army, but is defeated by a combined force of Prussian and British under Wellington at the Battle of Waterloo in Belgium in June of 1815. This time the Allies send him to St. Helena of the South African coast, and he dies on May 5th, 1821, at the age of 52. While he lived in exile, he wrote his memoirs attempting to signify his accomplishments. He wanted to create a so-called United States of Europe, bringing the ideas and the Enlightenment to all of Europe. However, he was a dictator that trounced on individual liberties. This caused his downfall, as it would be almost all dictators ever since that time. He was recognized as a French hero and is buried at the main Army Museum in the center of Paris, along with many of the philosophers of the Enlightenment.